We cannot build a tourism industry with security issues. And, there's so many other places in the world that have security issues also. So I want people to know that, when you come off the plane, it's not it really is not the majority. It's the off chance that unfortunately we have a terrible incident. Many hundreds. We have 258,000 visitors that come to Guyana, and thank God only a few of them get robbed. And we acknowledge that those few are not an acceptable number, and we're working hard to change it. And so we're saying to you, don't let the few incidences spoil your image of what we have to offer.
What are some misperceptions you're aware of Guyana that you're trying to change in the Caribbean and North America?
Well, the safety and the security is one of the biggest misconceptions. Guyana is still a relatively safe place. You can walk down the road. Nobody really is going to jump and rob you. You can drive so many places. It's a lot. The people are extremely hospitable. The good thing is that we're known for our hospitality. I think people sometimes don't know the amount of tourism product that we have, meaning that there are new things that are happening all the time. Just recently, there's a new water park that's opened just within the city outer limits, meaning that right next to the stadium, there's this new water park. Lots of people know about Splash Mints, but we also have our new mall with lovely restaurants, quite a few more restaurants. We have more cinemas. There's a lot of great things. Of course, I mentioned we also have tour companies and agencies that can plan your trip. Lots of websites online that you can go to for support. So the infrastructure and support to help an individual plan a memorable trip to Guyana is there.
Minister, that information is very important, or getting the information to the people, very important. There may be many of these websites floating around. But then again, if people don't know exactly where to go, they still will not be able to get that information. Is there an effort, or is there an existing website, government website, that people can go to, and as a sort of a hub for the other websites to find out information about what's happening in the tourist industry, and for example, this new water park. Now, this is the first time I'm learning about it, and I'm sure there are many others like myself. Is there such a website that exists?
Yeah, there are quite a few. I would like to say that, first of all, the Guyana Tourism Authority, if you do a search for Guyana Tourism Authority, GTA, they have a very, very dynamic website. The tourism, we work very closely with the Tourism and Hospitality Association, and that also is another link, and that website is exploreguyana.com. I mentioned the GTA. The ministry actually right now is looking at, we have our own website that is being revamped and under construction. So soon I would be able to say the ministry website also. But either of the two websites I mentioned have, comprehensive information. Guyana TAG, in association with the ministry, also produces the Explore Guyana magazine. And a lot of embassies, high commissions have copies of that magazine. You'll see it at our trade fairs. But most importantly, on the exploreguyana.com website, we have a PDF version of that magazine. And so all the tourism-related services, organizations, resorts, hotels, everybody advertises in that magazine. There's information on their product. There are, lovely stories about experiences and trips to Guyana, what you can do, where you can go. And so both of those sites are very, very important sites.
What would be your dream for tourism in Guyana?
My dream would be to create a tourism industry that allowed more and more Guyanese to experience the beauty of this country. Traditionally, Guyanese have not, we're celebrating 50 years next year, but traditionally, Guyanese living in Guyana have not had the opportunity to visit a lot of our beautiful tourism sites. One of the things I've been talking with the private sector about is ensuring that at certain times of the week, I would say more or less in their slow periods, that they can really make a concerted effort to have special rates for Guyanese that live in Guyana. I also, just so that more Guyanese would have an opportunity to go to Kaieteur, I would like to see the cost of our tourism come down. People don't realize that Guyana is such a huge country. It takes an hour and a half to fly to Anai in a small plane. It takes about an hour and a half to fly to Kaieteur. It takes an hour and a half in a Caribbean Airlines flight to get, or 45 minutes to Trinidad. So I'm only using that as an example and to highlight that, our product is not one that you can drop in a car as if you were in maybe Barbados and rent a car for $30 and spin around and see everything. It takes time. It takes, to get to Lethem, if you're driving, you'll have an awesome experience, but it's going to take you anywhere from 10 hours to get there. So that's why one of the things that's very important for the success and the development of our industry is ensuring that we put the requisite infrastructure in place. I would love to see the road to Lethem completed and paved, because I think that would just totally open up and send a different dimension to our tourism product. Imagine if people could get to Lethem in a matter of hours as opposed to 10, 12, and in the bad weather, rainy season, have challenges of bridges washing away. So those are the kinds of things I hope to see. And of course, ultimately, my dream would to have more Guyanese being employed, being comfortable, having an opportunity to enjoy a good life from the tourism industry. I would feel proud if at the end of 5 years, I would be able to show that more people have been employed in the industry, and the industry, we have more and larger number of visitors coming, and that the industry has been able to contribute a larger percentage to our gross national product.
How can we in the diaspora help to get the message out to encourage non-nationals to visit Guyana as a tourist destination?
Well, I think it's twofold. It's not only sharing the information, meaning that when we send out marketing information, sharing it to your circle of friends, but most importantly, encouraging people to, maybe just in one of those vacations, take the opportunity to come to Guyana. I'll give you a classic example. In July, my family had a family reunion, and we had close to 52 Chumley phrases that came to Guyana for our reunion, and everybody had a blast. We had some members of our family who, I'm ashamed to say, had not come back to Guyana since the 70s when they left. And everybody had such a great time. There were great reviews. So the important thing is for you to take a chance on Guyana. Instead of going to the Dominican Republic and to doing your trips in all those other places, take over the next year or two, take the decision, you know what? I'm going to holiday in Guyana. We go to these other locations and we're quite willing to stay in a nice hotel. We're quite willing to go and pay to see some of the entertainment and the sights. And I urge you to have the same feel for Guyana. We want you to come and invest in our tourism product. We want you to renew your faith and your commitment to Guyana. We want you to bring this other generation of Guyanese that we have that are second generation, that really were born in other parts of the country, but the other parts of the world, but we still consider them as children of Guyanese, and we want them to have a connection to Guyana. So the most important thing is for them to come, enjoy it, and spread the word.
When you look forward to this year and 2016, what are you excited about, Cathy?
I'm excited that in 2016 we celebrate our 50th anniversary of our independence. I'm excited that, you mentioned Folk Festival. At Folk Festival, I met a lady who had booked a team of 45 people to come back as part of the celebrations. And I know already hundreds and hundreds of people plan to come back. In 2016, we are going to have a year long celebration of events. And those events will range from, our a literary symposium, from our an expanded independence celebration, um, part of our big parades. We're going to have the motor racing is doing something big. Every agency, we want to have music festivals, we want to have film festivals, we want to highlight and showcase this country, its cultures, its locations, its different regions. All the regions are coming up with programs. So if you come from Essequibo, then the Essequibo region is going to have its own celebration in traditional style. If you come from Berbice or if you come from Linden, each of the regions are going to be doing something special for the regions in addition to our national celebrations. I think it is a fitting time for Guyanese to stop, to take pride in our country. For too long, I think we've been very, very critical of our country. We've tended not to have as high a spirit of nationalism as you will see displayed by the Jamaicans and the Trinidadians. And it really is an opportunity to pause, to look at our history, to look at what we have. And we have good stuff. It's just that quite often we've forgotten it. We haven't talked about it sufficiently. We haven't promoted it. So I hope that in 2016, Guyanese all over the world will feel good about being Guyanese.
You know, I have to ask you this question. When you were on
Go
my
ahead.
other program, I did an hour conversation with you, and we talked about your journey, your life. At the
Yeah.
time, you were on the other side of the aisle in the government.
Mhm.
Now you're a minister.
Mhm.
What does it feel like today that you're now part of the government that is running the country?
It's an awesome opportunity. I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and of course, I've been given such an exciting task in terms of tourism as an industry. I really, really believe that there are loads of things that we can do. So I'm happy for the opportunity. It's also a very daunting task. Uh, when you're on the outside and you look in, you think you know what's going on, but from my experience, having gotten in, there's so much to be done. There's so much that we've missed. There's so many, we've made progress over the last 20 years in some areas, but in other areas, we haven't given a fair opportunity to a large cross section of people. We haven't developed our industries sufficiently. We haven't found enough jobs for our young people. We still, our public servants still don't get paid, and our teachers, of course, an important part of that, a decent wage. And of course, we are dealing with issues that have to be addressed very, very rapidly. And it's all against the backdrop of, diminishing revenue streams in terms of sugar, in terms of rice. There are controversial decisions, and quite often you see it when you're inside,
Hmm.
the challenges that you have and the hard decisions you have to make, and sometimes from the outside it's not as visible. And I know we need to do much more as an administration in terms of explaining to people why we're taking some of the decisions, and the fact that even, for example, with the controversy over the current increases in
Salaries.
minister salaries, it's a difficult topic, and it's a difficult situation, and I don't really want to take up too much time talking about it, but I do say that you know we have to make a commitment. We intend to make a commitment also to ensure that the public servants are able to get an increase. I am confident that the Minister of Finance by next year will be able to do this. You know, I was sharing having a discussion with some friends just this morning and saying to them that we have a series of challenges. One of the things that I'm disappointed about is that in Ghana, we really have not, over the last 10 years or so, been able to develop a mechanism by which we can talk and have discussions on national issues. So this administration has a slightly different take. It came up with a different concept of some of the ministries. Um, it was based on the philosophy. If I gave you an example, that there are other things that we wanted to focus on. We didn't have a ministry of housing, we have a ministry of communities, because we felt very, very strongly that the housing was too myopic a way to look at. We were not in the game to just give out house lots, that we needed to create communities that had infrastructure, that had recreational grounds. And I know you're not in Guyana right now, but just in the last 2 weeks, people have been looking at the play fields that were overgrown, that we've cleared. Merriman's Mall now looks absolutely beautiful. The trenches are clear. The water is flowing. There's swings, there slides for the children in communities in those areas that now have a space. So there's a lot to be done, but unfortunately, I think we need to get more and more people in civil society involved. We have to have more and more people speaking out, because one of the things that we have promised to be very firm on is the issue of corruption within high office. And so, in a kind of a way, one of the perspectives on the increase for the ministers comes from the perspective of, look, if you have and you want to encourage people at all levels of society to be able to come and serve, then you want to be able to ensure that they can serve and be comfortable serving. That is not to say, and I don't want people to misinterpret me, that is not to say that I'm saying that only a minister must get monies. But what I'm saying is that if you are able, you want to recruit people, good people that maybe come from the private sector, that have, you know, for example, 3 children in university and had a business that allowed them to ensure they could look after their families, then we want to make sure that you're not putting those individuals in a position where they decide that because of the cost, the financial costs of being a minister, that you choose not to step forward. Or on the other hand, as I think has happened in the past, that you step forward, you certainly may not be able to maintain your previous commitments, and therefore we get into situations where there's unscrupulous activities, you're taking bribes, or that whole other area. So we feel very strongly. As I said in an interview before, it's one of those very difficult situations. My mom used to say, "You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't." But I just want to reassure people that I don't want them to think that, hey, we've all gone stark staring mad, we've forgotten what we spoke about 4 months ago, and now we just want to take. That definitely is not the case. And I can only appeal to people and say, it's only been 4 months. Give us a little more time, and we promise you'll see the method in what appears to be madness right now. I know I've strayed off the point.
No, that's all right, Cathy. And last but not least, what are your thoughts on the Rio 2016 Summer Olympics?
I think it's a fantastic opportunity. The challenge we have in Ghana is that we have not sufficiently developed our airlift and linkages and packages from Guyana to certain parts of Brazil. So it poses a challenge. Of course, 2016 is also our independence celebration. But certainly, I don't think that we're really positioned to package individuals coming to Guyana and going straight on to parts of Brazil and then connecting as far down as Rio. Brazil is a huge country. And of course, as you know, it takes many, many hours. We think we're on the Brazilian border, and we are. But when you talk about going down to Rio, it's many, many hours of flying. And right now, unfortunately, there are people that actually, if you're going to Rio, that will fly from Ghana to Miami and Miami straight down to Rio. So the whole airlift is an area that we are working very, very closely on. This administration has been speaking to a couple new airlines. I think it's already been publicized that the minister has had conversations with JetBlue and there are other airlines, because at the end of the day, we need to have more airlines coming to Guyana that can service some of these other areas. In terms of our tourism thrust, I haven't mentioned it, but we certainly feel strongly that we need to start looking down south. And that's why we acknowledge in our branding that we are South America. We're not the Caribbean. We have great relations with the Caribbean. We are part of the Caribbean historically, but really we don't have blue water and white sand. And so when people traditionally think of the Caribbean, they think of that beach and that kind of tourism. Well, that's not what we are. But we say that we have an exciting Amazon and South American adventure that we can share with you. And that is an equally enjoyable and important product.
I like
so
that.
We're actually looking down south. Last weekend, actually, a week ago, I was just coming back from a trip to French Guiana. It was absolutely, really, really a very rewarding and promising visit. Because when we look at our attracting people, I stopped in Suriname. I met the Minister of Tourism there before I went on to French Guiana. Suriname has 8 flights a week. 8 flights a week, direct flights from Holland straight to Suriname. And of course, so visitors come to Suriname. And again, we're saying, if they're coming to Suriname for holiday, then we want to encourage them on their week or their 2-week or 3-week visit to Suriname to come and see Guyana for 3 days or 4 days. So it's a tremendous opportunity. We've got the flights from Guyana to Suriname and back. We don't have the direct flights to Holland, but that's a way of picking up passengers and potential tourists. Similarly with French Guiana. French Guiana has, I think it's about 4 flights to France, direct flights every week. So again, I think Guyana is sufficiently poised to be able to develop a relationship. And that's what we did on our visit to French Guiana. We met with the Director of Tourism in Saint Laurent. I went as the invitation of the mayor. And so we are promoting the whole Guyana Shield. And that is historically French Guiana, Dutch Guyana, which of course is now Suriname, and what used to be British Guyana. So we want to redevelop those ties. We want people to be able to come from and travel and have exchanges between those 3 Guyanas. And it's another pool of potential tourists that we'll be able to bring to our country.
You know, I know I said that was the last question, but I'd be remiss if I don't mention this. Just before you, there was one of Guyana young filmmakers, Kojo McPherson, and Romola Lucas, who lives here and established this organization called Caribbean Film or whatever. And I asked them, what do they think about having a Guyana Film Festival? And so I put this question to you. How would that, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that's very, very important. I think that by next year, and an important part of the of our celebrations next year should be a film festival. Just like how we're having a literary symposium that Dr. Vibert Cambridge is very, very instrumental in promoting, because we've actually developed our film industry. You will know that my background is actually in television production.
Yes.
And although I haven't been able to do a lot of productions in the last 10 years or so, we have a vibrant industry, and it is good for us to develop and to promote it. film is a fantastic medium of explaining who we are as a people. And, I always found it ironic that 10 years ago, the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival would invite me over to help them with some of their judging and different activities. And we still didn't have a film industry in terms of a film festival in Guyana. So I'm glad that Kojo has been very involved. He's gotten awards, and I will be very, very supportive. One of the things this administration wants to do is to actually develop a film commission, because that's the agency and the organization that will get things going. So I think with people like Kojo, there are a few others that we'll be able to start moving in that direction, and we want to be there to give them support.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you for the time you shared with us, and I was so glad to have you. As usual, very informative, and thanks. Thanks a lot.
Oh, Selwyn, it's always a pleasure. I want the diaspora to know that we need you. We can't effect this process of change without your help. And so we want you to come home. We want you to be part of investing in Guyana, however you choose. Bring your family, bring your friends. We want to see you, especially next year.
Oh, thank you.
I say to you, thank you very much, too.
You're welcome. And good night.
Good night. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.